We're very glad to be joined by Ms. Jyoti Vij. She's Director General, FICCI. Thank you very much, Ms. Vij, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast. For the fact that India is the fastest growing economy, I would like to ask you to begin with how do you expect the survey describing India's this mammoth growth story?
Oh, you talked about just a while back, I was listening to you,
Yes,
and the kind of measures that were announced in the last budget were obviously, to not only growth oriented, but also to be very inclusive, because when they talked about, skilling and employment, as well as for including women in the workforce. I think to that extent it was a very, very progressive one. It talked obviously about the capex, enhancing investments, etc. And this was all in the last budget also I said the same thing, that it's been continuation of what this government has been doing for last 10 years. And I think that is one of the greatest part of any such policy announcement could be continuation. And I think that is what we see this government doing year after year. With the fiscal prudence, they have also tried to lay a lot of emphasis on growth. So it's been a kind of a very tightrope, but a very stable walk so far. So I think that's what is commendable about the government. While keeping their eyes on, the macro aspects, they haven't lost the sight on the micro issues, and employment and inclusivity being one of them. I mean, you see a lot of emphasis on agriculture, on all other soft aspects as well of the economy. So I think that's the good part of the budget. Of course, there have been some issues like the inflation, etc., which could have had some impact on the demand. So demand's been a bit tepid, as we've seen in the first 2 quarters of the current year, and we do see that kind of moving up a little. So the growth rate may have come down slightly, but we still remain the largest economy, growing economy in the world. And I think credit goes a lot to not only the measures announced in the last budget, but most importantly, the way we managed the COVID times. I think COVID time, the government really worked very hard to lay a foundation for a very strong economy. And I think some of those results we see in the growth rates that we have. We are, observing today, especially in such a volatile world that we are in.
Yes. And in the volatile world that we are living in, we're also in the midst of the 4th industrial revolution. And we are looking at a sort of artificial intelligence warfare. But all said and done, India is seen as a major player in almost all domains, if you look at it. What directions do you expect we will get to see in this survey tomorrow?
So I think, as I said, continuity would be very, very good, and I'm hoping that we will continue to lay focus, especially on the capex, because the private investments are still not there. I mean, we do see some green shoots coming in, but there's still some hand-holding is required. So we are at a stage, if we continue to provide a little more hand-holding, a little more patience from the government, it's going to really help a lot. Hence, increase in capex is something which we really look forward to. A lot of emphasis laid on employment last time, but we do hope that, and that's what government is actually talking about, is manufacturing. So manufacturing hopefully will see a lot more focus this time, whether it is in terms of incentives or whatever tax breaks, etc., is what they intend to provide to focus areas, because what we're talking about is self-reliant economy. So we're not just talking about making a few products and assembling a few products, but we need to have the ecosystem of manufacturing also hubbed here. So I think we see a lot of incentives being given for the backward integration, particularly in areas like electronics, where we've done very well, I think, in terms of even exporting out. But these are the final products. We also need to create the ecosystem for value-added products.
Right. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, I'm just interrupting you here because I wanted your thought. There's so much to talk, of course, tomorrow and day after. Ma'am, there's also this India's huge contribution to the economy also is coming from the unorganized sector. Do you think there's a need for more formalization of the economy, or how do you expect market forces to play their part? Will this also figure in this survey, the unorganized sector and its role?
I think GST onwards, formalization has happened, I think, in a very organic way. And we see that in the GST numbers also. I think the tax collections kind of show that the economy has started to formalize a lot. But of course, I mean, this is a continuing process, and the budget, of course, can bring in, if they try to rationalize some of the tax structures. See, formalization is more about people not understanding the unknown fear. And
Okay.
how to address that unknown fear is, I think, what we could probably try and understand and then address.
All right, we'll leave it there. But such a pleasure talking to you, Director General FICCI, Ms. Vish. Thank you. It was such a pleasure having you on the show.